When we first met, people kept telling him how lucky he was. "She's so calm," one of his friends said once, smiling at me like I was a good decision. "She's low maintenance," someone else added, as if that was the highest compliment a person could earn. He agreed with them, not loudly, just a nod, a soft smile, and I felt proud. I didn't need much, I really didn't. I was good at being okay. I knew how to sit with myself, how to wait, how to not make things heavy. If plans changed, I shrugged. If messages came late, I told myself he was busy. If he needed space, I understood. He loved that about me. "You're so easy," he said once, lying next to me, scrolling on his phone with one hand while his other rested loosely on my arm. "I've never been with someone like that." I smiled because I thought it meant I was safe to love. Being easy felt like being chosen. I didn't argue much. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't ask questions that might slow things down. When he needed quiet, I gave it. When he wanted to talk, I listened. When he forgot something important to me, I told myself it probably wasn't that important. He showed his care in practical ways. He fixed things. He showed up when it counted. He stayed. That mattered to me more than words. I told myself that was just how he loved. And when he praised me for not needing reassurance, for not asking where things were going, for not needing constant affection, I took it as proof that I was doing something right. I didn't realize yet that being loved for what you don't ask for can become its own kind of silence. It didn't happen all at once. There was no moment where I decided to stop speaking honestly. It was quieter than that. It was learned. The first time I almost said something, I stopped myself. We were sitting on his couch, watching something neither of us was really paying attention to. He was half there, checking his phone, responding to messages that didn't include me. I felt that familiar tightening in my chest. Not jealousy exactly, just the wish to feel noticed. "I kind of miss you," I almost said. But I didn't, because it felt strange to miss someone who was sitting right next to me, and I didn't want to sound dramatic. So instead, I leaned my head against his shoulder and stayed quiet. He kissed the top of my head absent-mindedly and kept scrolling. That seemed like a good outcome. I told myself that. The next time, I actually said something. "I feel a little disconnected lately," I said, carefully, not accusing, just honest. He paused, not defensively, thoughtfully. That almost made it worse. "I think you're overthinking it," he said gently. "Everything's fine. We're good." And then, after a moment, "You know, I really appreciate how you're usually not like this." Not like this. I nodded. I apologized. I felt embarrassed, like I'd broken some unspoken rule. He hugged me, reassured me, told me it was okay, and I promised myself I wouldn't bring it up again. After that, I started editing myself before words ever left my mouth. I learned which feelings were welcome and which ones made the room feel heavier. I learned that questions about closeness felt like pressure to him, that needing reassurance sounded like insecurity, that wanting more time felt like asking for too much. So I kept my needs small, manageable, easy. I told myself I was just being mature. When I didn't need anything, he was warm. He reached for me without thinking. He laughed easily. He told me about his day. He held my hand in public, rested his forehead against mine in quiet moments, said things like, "I'm really glad it's you." Those moments felt real. They were real. And because they didn't happen all the time, they felt special. I learned to treasure them instead of questioning why they were inconsistent. When I was self-sufficient, he seemed lighter, happier. When I was content with whatever space he offered, he filled it willingly. When I didn't ask, he gave. But the moment I needed something, just a little more attention, a little more reassurance, the energy shifted. "Can we talk?" I'd ask. He'd sigh, almost imperceptibly. Not annoyed, just tired. "I feel like we're always talking about feelings," he'd say. "Can't we just be good?" And I wanted to be good, so badly. So I'd backtrack. I'd soften. I'd say, "It's not a big deal," even when it was. I'd say, "I'm probably just sensitive," and he wouldn't argue. There were days when I felt completely loved, and days when I felt like I had to earn it by being quiet. I told myself that all relationships had rhythms, that no one could be fully available all the time, that this was just how love looked when it was stable. But slowly, gratitude replaced desire. I stopped wanting more and started being thankful for what I got. I thanked him for calls, for time, for affection that felt optional. And the strange part was, he never asked me to do this. I just learned. The night it changed wasn't dramatic. We were in bed, lights off, the quiet kind of comfortable that usually made me feel close to him. He was on his side, facing away slightly. I watched his back rise and fall with his breathing. "I've been feeling a little lonely," I said. I said it softly, carefully, like a confession, not an accusation. He turned toward me, concerned but guarded. "Lonely how?" he asked. "Like, I'm here, but not really," I said. "Like I'm trying really hard not to need too much." There was a pause. I could almost hear him choosing his words. "I think you might be putting too much pressure on this," he said finally. "I don't know what else you want from me. I'm here, aren't I?" I nodded, even though something in my chest tightened painfully. "I just need a little reassurance sometimes," I said, "just to know I matter." His face softened, not with affection, but with patience. "I wish you didn't need that. You're strongest when you're confident. That's what I love about you." That was the moment something shifted. Not because he was cruel, not because he said anything unforgivable, but because I realized that what he loved most about me was the version of me that didn't ask, and that the version of me that did ask felt like a problem to be managed. I apologized again. I always did. But this time, the apology didn't make me feel better. I didn't leave right away. I stayed for weeks after that, moving carefully, speaking selectively, shrinking my needs until they fit neatly into the space he seemed comfortable with. And he was kind. He always was. He didn't fight. He didn't beg. He didn't even notice, at first, that I was pulling away. When I finally told him I was thinking of leaving, he was surprised. "I don't understand," he said. "Nothing is wrong." And he was right. Nothing was wrong in a way I could easily explain. There was no big betrayal, no moment I could point to and say, "This is it." There was just the quiet truth that I felt most loved when I needed nothing, and most alone when I needed something. I told him I felt like I'd been disappearing. "You don't have to be so hard on yourself," he said gently. "You know I care about you." I nodded. I believed him. But caring wasn't the same as meeting me. When I left, it wasn't dramatic. There were no raised voices, no tears in the doorway, just a long hug that felt exactly like all the others, warm, familiar, and not quite enough. I walked away feeling guilty, like I was being difficult, like I was asking for something unreasonable by wanting to be fully seen. Even now, part of me wonders if I should have stayed quieter, easier. But another part of me, the part that finally spoke, knows this. Love shouldn't feel like something you earn by disappearing, and even if it was real, it wasn't enough for me to stay.